この俺と対等に戦うなんて2000年早えよ。吠えろサビマル。
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 906, directed by Yasunori Koyama from former series director Toshinori Fukasawa's storyboard, and supervised by Shigefume Shingaki. This episode has the makings of one that will finally bring us back to the standard of quality that we've come to expect from Wano, since not only does Shingaki's usually alien-looking character art, filled with flat noses, bug eyes, and sharp chins, look quite polished alongside the super nice-looking animation, but the episode is also storyboarded by our former series director, whose creative action storyboarding and pacing control can certainly do a lot with extending the fight between Law and Hawkins. Sure, it is a bit of a shame that Fukasawa isn't directing the episode himself, which might imply that he won't be sticking around as originally rumored, perhaps mirroring what his predecessor Hiroaki Miyamoto did with episode 689 by storyboarding one last episode after stepping down. But when a young and talented director like Koyama is taking the reins of it instead, I'd say that we're still in pretty good hands, with his vibrant direction in his most recent episode on the anime, 898, being one of the few highlights of what was otherwise a slog of an episode. So will episode 906 be the best Wano episode that we've had in quite a number of weeks, or will it continue to leave the anime's adaptation of the arc in shambles? Well, let's make some room and see how it fares. This episode covers the first 10 pages of chapter 918, and while it does feel a bit slow because of that, every story beat manages to really hit in my opinion, and there's also a few nice bits of filler that help with the overall continuity of the story as well. Stuff like Luffy actually fighting the hordes of Hold'em's men as he's running away, and Luffy and Tama climbing on the wagon of food may have felt a bit random amidst the larger plot points in the episode, but like last week, I feel like it helped it feel a lot less confusing and rushed when compared to the original chapter. One of the biggest issues with Act 1 of Wano in the manga was that a lot of key moments were rushed through pretty quickly in order to get to the bigger revelations of the arc. So I like that the anime is once again finding a way to tie up the loose ends that the manga has left it, which I feel makes for an overall better product, even if it does feel a bit random and spotty. They even extended a bit of the Law versus Hawkins fight as well, which was a bit weird seeing it only extended a tiny bit due to the episode's title being centered around it, but it once again helps the experience feel more whole. So despite the slow pacing of actual canon manga content that we sadly weren't able to shake this week, I still thought that this episode was pretty solid on the adaptation front because it once again goes out of its way to do things better than Oda himself, which is something that I'm always game for. If I had one gripe with it though, I'd have to say that deciding to end on Law and Zoro's interaction once Law gets aboard the wagon was a very odd choice, just due to the fact that stretching out a comedic scene like that kinda kills all the comedy they were trying to go for, but it's simply a small blemish on what is a sound episode adaptation-wise, despite the slow pacing managing to stick around a bit. This episode's storyboard manages to truly show us just why Fukasawa is such a praised director in the One Piece community due to his extremely solid board that's on show here. Throughout the entire episode, Fukasawa really manages to sell the scale of almost everything going on within it, giving his board a real sense of three-dimensionality because of the angles that are on display that make for some great showcases of scale that the episode requires. Whether it be Luffy beating down the endless hordes of Hold'em's men or a simple flashback to Tama seeing Ace perform his fire fist, Fukasawa gives the viewer an endless supply of angles that distract you from the slow pace and keep you invested in what's going on, giving the episode a good emotional core, which director Koyama manages to execute pretty damn well. While I would have preferred some different OST choices and scenes like the ending of the episode to better help convey the type of scene that they were going for, Koyama nails the atmosphere in this episode through otherwise good OST placement, sound effects, compositing, and solid adaptation in regards regards to bringing the emotional core in Fukasawa's storyboard to life on screen. With this one storyboard, Fukasawa helps us once again feel an attachment to the events that are unfolding in this arc despite having to sacrifice some of his storyboard due to the slow pacing, but he manages to bring back that emotional attachment that the anime adaptation of this arc prides itself on, using the setting as a bit of a playground to give us one of the best storyboards that Wano has seen so far. While Shigefume Shingaki's corrections end up being quite a bit weaker than I expected based off the preview, with quite a few of those alien traits managing to seep out of what is otherwise relatively polished art from him, this episode manages to be pretty freaking animated, all things considered, due to the episode itself being stacked full of talents both regular and non-regular, which makes even the smallest of scenes drip with character, with Takashi Kojima's brief reappearance being a perfect example of that. The little flashback to Ace's Fire Fist feels so alive through Kojima's extremely smooth character acting, and once again very modern fire effects that never stop moving for a second, making what is such a short scene feel tons more impactful, with that same feeling also being carried over to my absolute favorite animator on the show, Katsumi Ishizuka's scene, packing Luffy's short little run full of so much life through his extreme use of smears and his ability to properly execute the crazy layouts that the scene demands, topping it all off with an impactful end to the scene that's showered in his charming visceral effects work and some new cubic debris that's reminiscent of famed action animator Yutaka Nakamura. And who else would top all these highlights off none other than Chu Young-seo himself, who animates the most lively section of the Law vs. Hawkins fight, bringing so much finessed, lively movement to Law cutting up and playing around with Hawkins' men, which culminates in a smeary and impactful clash between the two characters that shows off Chu's extremely cool lighting effects. All these aforementioned cuts and more go a long way in making the episode feel not only truly special as a whole, but they also make it feel like a much needed course correction for the anime's adaptation of Wano as well. For the past few weeks we've dealt with rushed episodes that suffered because of the content that they covered, and episodes that in general divided people more than they united them. But episode 906 brings us back to the type of quality that made fans fall in love with the Wano arc in the first place. And despite some missteps with the episode overall, I have to say that I am completely satisfied. Now, we'll sadly be breaking off from Wano again for hopefully the last time this year next week, with the 20th anniversary Romance Dawn special episode from co-series director Kohei Kureta and supervisors Hirotaka Ito and Eisaku Inoue. But since there's a lot riding on this episode due to it being a celebration of such a huge milestone for the anime, it should be quite a bit different in quality compared to the last Wano cutaway, especially when considering the staff. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and bless Chu for that one crazy Hawkins eye smear.